Hey guys, tonight we slip into the murky corridors of memory, where truth doesn't just hide, it forgets it even existed. You're about to descend into a story that might seem quiet on the surface. A cold letter, an old cathedral, a few whispers in the dark. But underneath that calm lies something alive, something that's been waiting for you a very long time. Dusty vaults, stitched records, secrets buried in burned ruins. You probably won't survive this one with your sense of reality intact. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is right now. I'd love to see how far this little bedtime voyage goes. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find it sealed under the old floorboard in Father Derwin's study, neatly folded, yellowing, but untouched by time. A single sheet of thick paper, and on it, a crimson sigil pressed deep into the fibers like a wound, the twin moons of Ashmark stitched together by a thread of ink-thin bone. There's no name, no date. Only one line, handwritten in faded sepia script. The memory is not gone. It was never yours to begin with. You sit with that for hours, trying to ignore the way your fingers tremble when you hold it, trying not to notice how your skin warms around the sigil like it's a brand meant for you alone. The hearth crackles behind you, but the shadows don't retreat. They shift closer. Ashmark, a name barely spoken now, like a rumor wrapped in moss. You've heard old monks spit it like a curse. Ashmark and all its blasphemies. It used to be a place, maybe still is, but no one will say where. You find the location the way you always do, in the silence between official records, hidden in the gap between two dates in the cathedral's ledger, a loose page tucked beneath a hymn book. It's not a map, not exactly. It's a bone, human, probably a rib, smoothed and carved with a crooked grid of symbols that don't belong to any written language you've ever seen. You don't need to read them. Your fingertips remember the path before your eyes do. Historical fact. There really were monks in medieval Europe who carved scriptures into bones, usually scapulae, often stolen from enemies in battle. It was both a ritual and a punishment, a way to keep truth close and prisoners terrified. What you're holding, it's not scripture, it's a warning. You wrap the bone in cloth and set off before dawn, heading northeast. Your horse doesn't like the direction. She hesitates at every fork, every twist in the trail where the air goes still. By midday, the sky is gauzed with a layer of pale cloud that never moves. The birds stop calling. Even your own breath seems quieter. You reach the orphanage ruins around nightfall. No roof. Charred walls like ribs left too long over fire. But something about it feels recent, like it hasn't finished burning yet. You find a half-melted candlestick by what used to be a hearth, and beneath it, a staircase leading down. Fringe historical tidbit. In some 14th century orphanages, secret cellars were dug to store sin. That meant anything unholy, possessed children, desecrated icons, heretical scrolls, things that couldn't be destroyed, only forgotten. This one, it wasn't just forgotten, it was buried. You light your lantern, descend slowly. The stairs are uneven, some warped, some stone, some just packed earth. The smell of damp ash clings to your clothes. Somewhere below, water drips, steady and slow like a ticking clock trying to remember something it lost. The cellar is deeper than it should be, 3 rooms, each emptier than the last. But in the smallest one, half collapsed and mold-choked, you find a mural scratched into the wall. Not painted, etched, by small hands, dozens of them, child-sized finger marks, carving the same shape over and over again, the twin moons of Ashmark, and under them, a door with no hinges. You kneel, touch one of the symbols, and there, beneath your palm, you feel it, a breath, just a hint, but it's warm, alive. Historians still argue whether medieval children were capable of organized spiritual practices or if the drawings they left behind were just desperate imitations of adult rituals. But what you're looking at isn't mimicry. It's a pattern. A message, repeated by hands that never learned to write. The ground trembles. Not much. Just a shift, like an old house sighing in its bones. You rise, back away. And that's when you notice the far wall has cracked. A hairline fracture splitting down from ceiling to floor. The air seeping through is colder than the crypt beneath St. Ellendear. Colder than death. You leave the cellar fast, almost too fast. The stairs don't feel quite the same on the way up. One seems longer, one seems missing entirely. Back in the ruined orphanage, night has fully settled. The wind cuts sideways now, carrying ash and something sharper. You mount your horse. She doesn't wait for command. She just runs. You don't look back, but you know. Whatever used to be beneath that orphanage isn't finished with you, and neither is Ashmark. You don't sleep that night. Back at the inn, you lie in a narrow bed built for a smaller, quieter life. The mattress smells faintly of candle grease and boiled roots. Wind tugs at the shutter hinges like a thief testing the lock. You stare at the ceiling until dawn, counting the spaces between the creaks of wood. Something about the way the cracked mural stared back at you won't let go. You know you've seen that door before, not in waking life, but in your dreams. A door with no hinges, no handle, no seams, just a shape cut into stone by something with fingers, but no name. You rise before the sun and begin your search in silence. The town near the orphanage, Ashward, they called it once, is little more than scattered farms and a broken tavern that serves weak ale and weaker rumors. You talk to the innkeeper, a man with missing teeth and more rings than fingers. You ask about Ashmark. He stares, then slowly turns one of his rings backward on his finger. You're not the first to ask. You lean in. When? He shrugs, pouring ale into a chipped pewter mug. Last winter, before the snow turned bad, pale fellow, cloak too long, looked like he'd been born under the floorboards. You take the mug but don't drink. Did he find it? The innkeeper grins, 3 teeth showing like tombstones. Don't reckon he came back to tell me. Mainstream historical fact. Many medieval travelers relied on local taverns not just for food or shelter, but for information. Some barkeeps acted as unofficial scribes or gossip brokers, keepers of the town's real memory, hidden beneath the official prayers. You ask about the orphanage. His eyes darken. That place wasn't burned by accident, he mutters. The bishop ordered it, said the children were cursed, said they sang in tongues no angel could understand. You pause. They were chanting, or worse. Fringe historical tidbit. In certain 15th century exorcisms, priests recorded children singing in voices that didn't belong to them, harmonies too complex for the human ear, with no clear origin. The Vatican denied the cases. But the monastery archives? Those kept the echoes. You finish your drink, head to the woods. Ashmark, if it exists, is nowhere on your maps. But the bone still whispers when you hold it, like it remembers where it's from. You follow the symbols, not with your eyes, but with your steps. A pattern begins to emerge in the trees, marks scraped into bark, all facing one direction, not carved, just removed, as if the forest had flinched. You pass through a glade choked in silence, no birds, no insects. Even your own breath feels padded. Then, movement. A flash of black linen ahead. You break into a run. The figure vanishes behind a copse of leaning ash trees. You follow, heart racing, sword tapping at your side like a metronome. But when you reach the spot, no one, only a clearing, and in the center of it, a flat stone ringed in faded symbols. Some look like runes, others like melted letters, all of them wrong. You kneel again, the way you did in the cellar, touch the stone. Warm. A hum begins under your fingertips. Not a sound exactly, more like the memory of one. And then, softly, whispered as if from within your skull, your name, was never yours. You jerk your hand back, but it's too late. The dream begins that night. You're no longer in your own body. You see through different eyes, hands smaller, skin paler. You're standing in a hall lit only by candlelight and oil smoke. The walls are covered in bone-white cloth, each stitched with the same crooked symbol. And ahead, seated on a throne made of chained books, is a figure with no face, only a mouth. It moves, but you hear nothing. Then it stops, raises one finger, points. And suddenly you are falling, through stone, through time, through something that has no bottom. You wake in a field gasping, mud on your boots, cuts on your arms, but you didn't sleep outside, did you? Historians still argue whether certain monastic orders used mind-altering herbs in rituals, especially those meant to reveal divine truths. Some say they were just seeing visions. Others believe they were seeing things no one was meant to. You brush yourself off and find your horse nearby. She's shivering, staring at the clearing with the stone, now quiet. You mount, ride back toward the town, but this time the road bends wrong. The trees lean the other way, and in the distance, where there should be hills, a tower rises. You've never seen it before. It wasn't there this morning. Made of bone-white stone and wrapped in vines too thick to be natural, it glows faintly in the dusk, like a lighthouse for the lost. You don't remember deciding to approach. Your horse moves without command. And as you near the base of the tower, you see them, dozens of hooded figures, all kneeling, all silent, and at the front, turning slowly to face you, the man in the black linen robe, the one from the confessional. Only now you see his face, and it's yours. You don't scream, you don't even breathe. You just stare at the man with your face. It's not a mirror image. No, that would almost be comforting. This version of you is older, paler, like someone scraped all the warmth out of your skin and left the outline behind. His eyes are deeper, shadowed, as if sleepless for decades. But it's undeniably you. He doesn't speak, doesn't smile, just watches you from beneath his hood as the rest of the robed figures begin to rise in unison. They part for you. No words, no chant, just the rustle of linen and the creaking of knees as they make a path toward the tower entrance. You dismount. The grass doesn't crunch beneath your boots. It recoils. The tower door is already open. A stone slab carved with the same symbol from your dream. The one from the cellar mural. The one stitched into the cloth of your nightmares. You step inside and find yourself in a spiral chamber with walls that seem to breathe. The air is damp, but not cold. More like the inside of a mouth. That's not comforting, by the way. Mainstream historical fact. In the medieval era, certain towers, called lantern towers, were built not to hold prisoners or store grain, but to serve as beacons for spiritual visions. Monks would climb them to ascend beyond the veil. Some came back enlightened, others didn't come back at all. You follow the spiral staircase. Each step is worn smooth, not by feet, but by hands. You run your fingers along the wall. It's sticky. As you climb, you pass murals, each more grotesque than the last. Children stitched together, eyes traded like currency, angels holding leashes, a man with no skin holding a name in his palm. You feel your breath thin. You reach the top, a single chamber, no windows. In the center, a table. On it, 5 objects. A stone tooth, a feather scorched black, a scroll too tightly wound to open, a cup made of glass and blood, and a mirror. Fringe historical tidbit. In 14th century Eastern Europe, it was believed that certain mirrors could reflect the soul's truest name. These relics were forbidden by church law and often sealed beneath monasteries, but a few were kept and used, quietly. You approach the mirror last. You don't want to, but your hand rises anyway. Your reflection wavers, not like water, like it's flinching. Then, your face splits, literally down the middle, and inside, another face, younger, screaming. You stagger back, heart pounding. Behind you, the air shifts. The hooded you has followed, silently. And now he speaks. Do you know where you were born? You shake your head. The orphanage. That was your shelter, he interrupts, not your cradle. His voice is low, dry, like old pages turning themselves. You were brought to Ashmark under cover of smoke. You were not alone. You squint. The others, gone. What happened to them? He stares at the mirror. They remembered. Historians still argue whether entire medieval sects disappeared by choice or by force. One order, the Gilded Silence, vanished from records after 1422. No war, no plague, just silence. Some say they left this world by ritual. Others whisper that their minds simply inverted. You look again at the objects. These are mine? Remnants, the hooded you replies, each from a life before your memory. You reach for the scroll. It burns your fingers. Not yet, he warns. Only when the fifth seal is broken. You try not to ask. You really do. But curiosity always wins. What seals? He smiles. Just a little, enough to make you uncomfortable. You've broken two. Which two? The lie. And the name. The room tilts, not physically. Reality just slouches to one side. You brace against the table. What happens when all five are gone? His face falls still. Then you remember what you are. You look into the mirror again. This time, no reflection. Just black. Not void. Depth. A hallway of ink. The room begins to shrink. The walls throb. You turn, but he's gone. The table's gone. You're alone. And then, wind. Not a breeze. Wind, like standing too close to the mouth of a god. You are sucked into the mirror. You fall for what feels like years, and land, suddenly, in a street. Night. Gas lights flicker overhead. Stone buildings twist like melted candles. You recognize this place. Brighthollow. But not the one you left. It's older, quieter. You walk. People pass you, wearing robes like the ones in the tower. They don't see you. You are a ghost. A witness. You follow the crowd to a cathedral. Inside, a man preaches. Not in Latin. Not in English. In a tongue that bruises your ears. And then, he says it. Your name. Not Aldrich, the other one. The one you don't remember learning but feel stitched into your ribs. You double over, gasping. And wake up. You're back at the inn. But the sky outside is red, and the town is burning. The first thing you hear is screaming. Not the panicked kind from startled townsfolk, but the deep, steady chorus of despair. Rhythmic. As if mourning is a ritual here, not a reaction. You stumble to your feet in the inn room, still half swallowed by the dream, or vision, or whatever black magic dragged you into yesterday's version of Brighthollow. Your clothes reek of ash, not metaphorically. You brush your sleeve and soot crumbles like old parchment. Outside, flames lick the rooftops. Smoke claws at the sky in long, accusing fingers. The city is burning, and you can't tell if it's because of you or for you. You descend the stairs, but the common room is empty. Tankards still sweat on the tables. A fire smolders in the hearth, but not a soul remains. Except the boy. He sits by the door, the same stable boy who held your horse. His eyes are wrong now, glassy, milk pale, like someone drew cataracts in charcoal. Did you see the mirror? He whispers. Your stomach knots. What? He smiles. It stretches too far. Did it show you your birth or your burden? You don't answer. Can't. Most see the death that birthed them, he says, rising. Few see the truth that killed them. You move past him, carefully, like he's wired to explode. Outside, the wind howls through narrow alleys. Smoke hunches between the eaves like something waiting its turn. A flyer flaps against a post, half burnt. You peel it free. Missing children. 4 names circled in ink. One of them, Theron, sends a jolt through you. He was at the orphanage. He vanished before you turned 9. The flyer is dated 10 years before you were born. Mainstream historical fact. In certain plague-stricken cities during the Black Death, entire families were reported as missing, not because they fled, but because they were erased from civic record by clerics trying to spare the soul. Bureaucratic mercy. You wander through ash and silence. A church bell tolls, but not from a belfry, from the ground. You follow the sound to the cemetery and find her, Mother Gresha, the orphanage matron. She's older, or maybe not. Time doesn't work here. She's placing coins in the mouths of small statues, cherubim cracked and hollow. She sees you but doesn't smile, just gestures to the grave beside her. Your name is on it, not Aldrich, the real one. You read it, feel nothing, then everything. It's like trying to remember a scream you heard underwater. Gresha speaks. They were afraid of your silence. You kneel beside the grave. The soil is fresh. When was this, you ask? When the last star fell, she says. When you were found beside the red lake, with your hands full of feathers and no voice in your mouth. You stare at her. I was mute? She nods. Until the fire. You touch the stone. It's warm, like it's breathing through you. Fringe historical tidbit. One isolated community in 13th century Iceland believed that names could only be claimed by surviving death. They would stage symbolic funerals for their children, burying wax effigies, and only then assign them a true name. The ritual was banned after multiple buried children reappeared, speaking tongues no one taught them. You rise. She holds out a satchel. You'll need this. Inside, a map of Brighthollow, drawn by hand. But the landmarks are wrong. The city spirals instead of grids. The cathedral is labeled the tongue, the tower, the tooth. Your path is marked in red. It leads down. Beneath the garden, she murmurs, where the others forgot. Others? She closes your hand around the satchel. You weren't the only child found beneath a fallen moon. You want to ask more. You really do. But the sky tears, literally. A red gash opens in the clouds and a sound like metal weeping floods your ears. Gresha doesn't flinch. She steps into a mausoleum and shuts the door. You're alone again. A hand grabs your shoulder. You spin. It's Fenton. Bruised, bloodied, out of breath. We need to go. Now. You gape at him. You were in Ashmark. I followed your trail, he pants. You think I'd let you ride off into a cursed city without backup? How did you... He jabs a thumb toward the sky. Magic's gone weird. I'm seeing parts of my childhood I buried under 2 bottles of gin and 30 years of repression. You blink. You're not making sense. No one is, he snaps. Time's bleeding, Aldrich. The city's folding. And something's hunting your name. He pulls a knife. It's glowing faintly blue. I stole this from the Hall of Echoes. You what? Turns out names leave fingerprints, he says, and yours is smudged all over the graveyards of 3 kingdoms. Historians still argue whether cursed names, those associated with mass tragedies, carried real power or just collective trauma. In some villages, a baby was renamed if their original name matched one etched on a plague wall. Others believed reclaiming such a name could redeem its past bearer. Fenton holds the knife up to your chest. It vibrates. You're not just a lost boy, Aldrich, he murmurs. You're the echo. You stare at him, and for a moment, just one sliver of time, you see the reflection in his blade. It's not your face. It's hers, the woman from the mural, the one holding your infant self in a ring of fire. You whisper, Mother. Then the ground cracks beneath you both, and the city swallows you whole. You fall without falling. The world twists, but it doesn't spin. It folds like a book slammed shut on a half-read page. Your lungs ache, not from airlessness, but from memory squeezing them like a vice. Your thoughts unspool in reverse. The grave, the map, Gresha's eyes, the red tear in the sky. And then darkness, not black, but damp. The kind of dark that has weight, has smell, has breath. You land on stone, slick, mossy, colder than reason. Beside you, Fenton grunts. "Still alive?" he asks, voice low. "Define alive," you croak. The ceiling drips. Or maybe it weeps. You're in a tunnel. Narrow, lined with carvings so ancient they predate language. Spirals, teeth, mirrored symbols. Some shimmer faintly when you look directly at them, like they're watching back. You rise, your knees cracking like old wood. Fenton hands you a torch, a real one, flame and all. Magic fizzles here. No spells, no charms, just fire. Ahead, a split, 2 paths. The one to the left is wider, cleaner. Bones line the floor in deliberate patterns, like someone tried to tell a story in femurs and jawbones. The right path pulses faintly red. "Well," Fenton whispers, "you've got the cursed name. You pick." You hesitate, then go right. Always go toward the heartbeat. He grumbles, follows. You walk for what feels like hours. The tunnel contracts in places, forces you sideways. You brush against roots. One wraps around your wrist before slipping off, almost shy. "You feel that?" Fenton mutters. "Yeah." The ground's breathing. He's right. Beneath your boots, the stone rises and sinks, like lungs beneath a brittle ribcage. Mainstream historical fact. In some ancient Roman catacombs, early Christians carved vents into the ceilings to allow the dead to speak their truth to heaven. These were also used for the living to whisper prayers directly into burial niches, essentially turning graves into confessionals. At last you reach a chamber. It isn't carved, it's grown. Roots spiral into archways. The walls glisten with sap. In the center, a dais of stone and bone. Upon it lies a book, no pages, just layers of skin, stitched, tattooed, pulsing. Is that, Fenton squints, a memory tome? You nod slowly, but not mine. You approach. The air thickens. Your name hums in the back of your skull. A whisper brushes your ear, not from Fenton, not human. What was forgotten must now be worn. You place a hand on the tome. The room goes silent, and then noise. Not from around you, inside you. Your mind is dragged backward. You're a child again, mute, alone, standing before a council of robed figures, their faces obscured. One speaks. He carries the name, the one that shattered the circle. Another, it must be erased, or hidden. And then, place it in a vessel of flesh and let it bleed into forgetting. You scream, or try to. You wake with a start, back in the chamber. Fenton's eyes wide. "You burned," he hisses. "Your skin, your eyes, you were glowing." You check your arms. They bear new marks, glyphs, etched like ink but seared into the skin. "What did you see?" he asks. You meet his gaze. "My name isn't just forgotten. It was taken." Fringe historical tidbit. Among the Dogon people of Mali, there's an oral legend of a nameless birth, a child born without a soul name, fated to carry the unspoken sins of their ancestors. Such children were not killed, but raised in ritual silence, believed to act as living vessels of balance. You pocket the tome. It continues to pulse faintly. Suddenly, the chamber groans. The roots retract. Something awakens. Fenton grabs your arm. "We need to..." But you already see it. A form emerges from the far wall, half human, half shadow. It's not walking. It's remembering itself forward. 1,000 whispers fill the chamber. All yours. All the names you might have had. It reaches out, not with anger, but with recognition. "You are the echo," it rasps, the break in the silence. And then it collapses. You rush forward. Fenton holds you back, but curiosity wins. The form is you, older. Eyes burned out, lips sewn shut. In its palm, a key. You take it. The weight of it tilts your balance. I think, you whisper, this is for the tongue. The cathedral? Fenton asks. You nod. The next piece of who I was is still speaking. Historians still argue whether religious relics once held power because of belief, or because certain locations naturally amplified memory and emotion. Some claim cathedrals were built not for faith, but as storage vaults for the psyche of a nation. You exit the chamber. Behind you, the root-grown walls collapse, sealing off the past once again. But not before the whisper returns, gentler this time. You are not the first, but you may be the last. The cathedral waits, like an open mouth. You and Fenton stand at the edge of Brighthollow's oldest quarter, Wormgate. Every city has a part too stubborn to die, and this is Brighthollow's. Ancient, crumbling, haunted not by ghosts, but by the stubborn weight of memory. The cobblestones whisper. The shadows lean a little closer than they should. You hold the key tight in your hand. It's not cold like metal. It's warm, alive, almost pulsing. You hate it and also somehow need it. The Cathedral of the Tongue towers ahead, its spire broken off decades ago. Locals say it fell not from lightning, but from a scream too large to stay inside. You believe it. The front doors are sealed, blackened by time and fire. No one's gone in for years. Until now. You press the key to the iron plate where a lock should be. It melts, not with heat, but with surrender. The door swings open on a sound that feels more like a groan than a creak. Inside, silence swells. You and Fenton step into a nave overgrown with vines, inked with long-forgotten symbols. Pew rows have collapsed inward, as if crushed by some invisible weight. And at the altar, a pedestal, empty, waiting. You approach it. The book you took, the memory tome, begins to twitch in your coat like something trying to escape. And then, something else appears on the pedestal. A mask, porcelain, cracked, mouth sewn shut. The mask vibrates, drawing breath that isn't breath. It sees you with hollow eye slits. And then, it speaks. Not aloud. Inside you. You carry the stolen name, it intones. You must speak it or be undone. You step back. I don't know it. No, it agrees, but your blood does. Suddenly, you're no longer in the cathedral. Not exactly. You stand inside a room shaped like your childhood. Bare walls, a small cot, a window bricked up from the outside. On the floor, a mirror. In it, you're a boy again. 7, maybe 8. The boy looks up at you, says nothing. But his eyes beg. You kneel. The mirror fogs. Then words appear, scrawled like breath on glass. Aldrich was never your first. You swallow. You remember this moment. Or almost do. You speak to the boy. What's my name? He shakes his head, points to your chest. A symbol begins to burn beneath your skin. The same one that appeared in the tome's vision. It hurts. Your knees buckle. You return to the cathedral in a blink. Fenton grabs your shoulders. You passed out, he says. About a minute. The book's gone. You glance at the pedestal. He's right. Only the mask remains. You reach for it. It hisses beneath your fingers, then calms. Put it on, a voice says. You don't know if it's Fenton or the mask or your own heart. But you do. It fuses to your skin, cold, then warm, blinding, then darkness. And when you open your eyes, you see everything. Brighthollow isn't just a city. It's a wound. A layered spiral of forgotten names, layered over each other like sediment. You see the one they called the Speaker, the one they tried to erase. You, or someone before you, or someone still to come. You scream. Except no sound comes out. The mask holds the scream inside. Fenton grabs your arm. We're leaving, now. Fringe historical tidbit. In 14th century Venice, plague doctors sometimes wore masks filled not with herbs, but pages from confessionals, believing written sin could absorb airborne illness. None of them lived long enough to test the theory. You and Fenton exit the cathedral in silence. The door slams shut behind you. Back in the open, the sky feels heavier, brighter, louder. "You all right?" Fenton asks. You nod. "Lieutenant, inside you something's changed. The mask is gone, but its imprint remains. You know your name now, but it's not Aldrich. It's not one name at all. It's dozens, hundreds, all of them burned into your bones like scars." "Where to next?" Fenton asks, half joking. "Down the throat of a volcano? Into a sentient swamp?" You smile, barely. "No," you say. "We're going back to where it started." Fenton frowns. "The city archive?" You shake your head. "The orphanage." The path to the orphanage winds through streets that don't exist on any map. You've walked them before, but they feel different now, like they remember you too. The building comes into view. You hesitate. You feel the old name stir. And then it speaks, in your own voice. "Let me out." The orphanage hasn't changed, which of course makes it worse. The stone is still that washed-out gray, like a sky that forgot how to be blue. Ivy claws up the facade like it's trying to choke the building back into the earth. A rusted sign swings in the wind. St. Brida's Home for Wayward Youth. Except someone's crossed out wayward and scratched in Nameless. Charming. Fenton hesitates. "This where you grew up?" You nod. "Kind of." He squints. That's either the most honest or most terrifying answer I've ever heard. You both step through the gate. It creaks, because of course it does, and the path is still littered with gravel that crunches way too loud under your feet. Everything here is louder. Your pulse, the wind, the creak of the branches overhead that weren't supposed to move like that. Inside, the air has that thick, dusty feel of a room sealed away from time. The kind of place where furniture has long stopped being useful and just becomes memory furniture. Awkward, grim, quiet. You remember this. The long hallway. The way the walls were always too damp. The lighting always just a little off, like the bulbs were afraid to glow. The playroom's still here too. A moth-eaten rocking horse. A board game missing half its pieces, and the other half probably haunted. You head for the back room, the one that wasn't supposed to exist. You find the hidden door behind the old tapestry. Same faded image. St. Brida, holding a candle and a key. The candle's been torn out. The key has been added, with something that looks suspiciously like dried blood. Fenton raises a brow. "Is that—" "Don't ask," you mutter. You push open the secret door. Behind it, stairs. Downward, spiraling, narrow. Of course, you descend. Here's your historical fact. In early 13th century Bohemia, orphanages operated as both sanctuaries and secret test beds for fringe spiritual experiments, like memory containment or the harvesting of innocence for supposed psychic purity. Most records were destroyed. Convenient. The air gets colder the deeper you go, but not naturally. It's intentional, like something below is exhaling. At the bottom, the hallway expands into a chamber, stone walls carved with spirals, eyes, names, some in languages you've never seen, and in the center, an altar. Not like a church altar, more like an operating table. You step forward. You remember this room. Too well, and then you see it. A figure standing in the shadows. Not cloaked, not masked, just familiar. Fenton moves to speak, but you hold up a hand. "Let me." You step forward. The figure lifts her head. It's Sister Mel, the headmistress, except younger, or older, or other. Her eyes glint with that uncanny blend of warmth and terror, the same look she gave when she punished you for remembering too much. "You came back," she says, "like you left yesterday. I want the truth." She nods. "Of course you do, but that's not the question." You frown. Then what is? She steps forward, gently touches your temple. The question is, can you bear it? The altar pulses with sudden light. The walls flicker with faces. Yours. Dozens of versions, crying, running, screaming, laughing. Names swirl past your ears like paper in a storm. You fall to your knees. Fenton grabs your shoulder, but he's fading. The whole world is. You're somewhere else again. Only this time, not a memory. Not quite. You're in the moment before your first memory. A white room. Floating symbols. A woman's voice. Calm. Detached. Subject 7A initiated. Name containment at 94%. Emotional resistance stable. Prepare for imprint. A jolt of fear surges through you. You weren't born Aldrich. You were assigned Aldrich. Or rather, something close to it. Because none of this was natural. You, your life, was part of a program. A series of rituals cloaked as science, or science cloaked as ritual. The woman's face appears, unclear, eyeless. You are the carrier, she says. The name will live in you. You will live in none. The flash ends. Back in the chamber, you're curled on the floor. The mask from earlier has reappeared in your lap, silently watching. Sister Mel crouches beside you. You were the final vessel, she says. The perfect blank. The city made you to hold what it could not destroy. You whisper, "What is it?" She doesn't answer. Instead, she hands you a knife. Its blade gleams, but not with light, with memory. You want the truth? She asks. Carve it. Fringe fact. In ancient Mesopotamian rites, priests believed truth was embedded in the body and could only be revealed through symbolic incisions along certain meridians. The practice was banned after a series of deaths. Unsurprisingly. You hesitate, then you cut. Just one line across the palm. It burns, but not pain. Clarity. A vision erupts. You're in Brighthollow. But long ago, the city's birth, a name spoken in the wrong place, at the wrong time. A god summoned, or maybe just remembered. And then, silence. They tried to forget it. So they made you, a container, a vessel, a prison. The name was buried, in you, and now it wants out. Historians still argue whether consciousness can be encoded into architecture. Some claim entire cities have souls, accidental, collective, dangerous. Brighthollow may be one such soul, and you're its heart. You open your eyes. Fenton kneels beside you, pale. That was 5 minutes, you flatlined. You look at your hand. No wound, but the truth lingers. You turn to Sister Mel. What now? She smiles, bitter and proud. Now you find the rest of you. You leave the orphanage. The door closes behind you. It doesn't lock. It never did. You don't talk for a while. The streets of Brighthollow absorb you again. Wet cobblestones, lampposts glowing like fireflies in morning, and that perpetual mist that refuses to clear even when the sky is dry. You and Fenton walk side by side, but you can feel the air has changed. It's heavier now, like it knows. You okay? He finally asks. You think for a beat too long. Define okay. Fenton chuckles, but it's a nervous one. You know, I signed up for chasing old papers and arguing with dusty historians, not being backup for a magical memory prisoner. You smirk. You're not backup. Good. Because if something jumps out again, I am running. You stop in front of the old tram station. Not because you need a ride, but because it's where the dream told you to go next. In your vision, if that's what it was, you saw this place. Not like it is now, covered in graffiti and rot, but new, gleaming, buzzing with people and voices and movement. Inside, it's abandoned, moss on the benches, shattered glass underfoot, ticket machine blinking error over and over like it's stuck in an existential crisis. You approach the old service elevator. Slam the down button. It actually lights up. You both freeze. That Shouldn't work, Fenton says. You nod. Exactly why we're using it. The elevator descends. Music plays. A warped jingle from the 40s, you think. Tinny, out of tune, too cheerful. A lyricless hum you feel in your teeth. Fenton starts tapping out a rhythm just to distract himself. You don't stop him. Ding. Doors open, and not to another platform. To a room. This one's too clean, too white. Clinical, but not sterile. On the walls, photos of you as a child, as a teen, even last week. Some you didn't even know were taken. In one of them, you're asleep, mouth open, slight drool. Classic. What the... Fenton whispers. I think this is where I was made, you say. In the center of the room is a screen, CRT style, flickers to life without touch. A woman's face appears. Same eyeless, unreadable blur from your last vision. Subject 7A, the voice says. Restoration sequence initiated. The walls begin to shift. Panels pull back. And now you see it. A giant map of the city, Brighthollow, divided not by boroughs but by phases. Years, layers of development stacked like sediment. And in the center, a black zone. No labels, just a symbol, a spiral swallowing a star. That's it, you whisper. That's where the core is. You're telling me the city's been building around this thing for centuries? Fenton asks. Not just around it, you say. Because of it. Historical fact. In several European cities, like Prague and Tallinn, urban legends suggest secret urban designs dictated by ancient geomantic rules, hidden centers built atop power lines or forgotten relics. Brighthollow may be following such a blueprint, except no one remembers drawing it. The screen flashes again. This time, text. The name stirs. Return is imminent. Reintegrate or perish. Quaint. You take a breath. We have to go to the center, the spiral. Fenton shakes his head. Number no way. That place? That's the Hollows. No one goes there. Cops don't even write tickets near it. I've read reports. People walk in and never come out. Then we walk in. He looks at you serious now. You're not scared, are you? I'm always scared, you say, but now I know why. And here's a fringe fact. There's a theory in fringe psychology called identity inversion, where under extreme stress or trauma, a person might not just forget who they are, but become someone else entirely. Like the brain performs a memory exorcism. You're starting to think you're that theory's proof. The elevator doesn't work on the way back up, because of course it doesn't. So you take the service ladder. Fenton curses the entire climb. Outside again, the sky has shifted, not darker, just wrong. The clouds move against the wind. Street signs subtly flicker between real names and things like Lost and Stay. I don't think we're alone anymore, Fenton mutters. No, you agree. The city's noticing. You head toward the Hollows, the way there is indirect. Streets reroute themselves. You'll swear you're on Vetch Street, but suddenly the signs say Candlecut Row. The buildings lean in closer. At one point, a child with no pupils whispers your name and gives you a dead bird. You accept it. Don't ask why. Eventually, you make it. The Hollows. It's not a place. It's a feeling. Like you're walking through the belly of a forgotten god. No birds, no sirens. Even Fenton stops cracking jokes. You step into the spiral. The buildings here are older than the city itself, some made of stone that predates any known quarry. Windows shaped wrong. Doors too tall. Some walls are just missing, like they never existed. You find the entrance in the center of the spiral. Not a door, a stairwell, descending deep, way deeper than any basement should go. You look at Fenton. This is it, you say. You sure? No. He shrugs. Cool. Let's die. You start down the stairs. The name is close now. You feel it in your bones. You feel it in your teeth. You feel it remembering you. You descend slowly, step by step. The spiral stairwell narrowing the deeper you go. No lights, just the glow from your flashlight, which flickers even though the batteries are fresh. The air grows dense, not just thick, but intentional, like it's pressing against your lungs to remind you this is no place for the living. Each footstep echoes louder than it should. Fenton taps the railing once and winces. Metal's cold, too cold. Not just temperature-wise, it's cold like something dead pretending to be steel. "So," he whispers, voice bouncing around the stone. "Any regrets?" You pause. "Yeah, I didn't steal more pudding from the cafeteria." He snorts. "Glad we're facing the abyss with peak maturity." Eventually, the stairwell spits you out into a chamber. Vast, round. The walls curve up into a perfect dome. Etchings cover every surface. Glyphs, spirals, runes, names. Some in languages you know, others in ones you don't. A few you suspect haven't been invented yet. At the center, a dais. And on that dais, a figure. Sitting. Back to you. Hair white, robe black. Still as sculpture. You approach, slow. The figure speaks. Voice dry, ancient, genderless. The final thread returns. You freeze. "You know me?" "I am you," it says, standing. It turns, and there you are. Older, hollow-eyed, covered in dust and scars, but unmistakably, you. Fenton's hand grabs your sleeve. "Nope, nope, nope. This is mirror horror territory." You step forward anyway. "What is this?" you ask. "Convergence," the other you says. "You've been waking up, piece by piece, memory by memory. You're not here to find answers. You're here to accept them." You don't answer. Your double steps down from the dais. "Do you know what Brighthollow was built on?" "A spiral?" you say. "Yes, a memory spiral, layered like strata. Each century, the city forgets itself and is reborn. But we, you and I, we are the anchor, the soul that remembers, the one forced to remain." You shake your head. That's not possible. Historians still argue whether the city's repeating architectural motifs are intentional or subconscious echoes of something buried deeper. But we, you, are proof. Your head swims. I'm a person. I have a life. You have lives. Hundreds. Each time they forget, you wake up again. Same eyes, same hunger, searching for meaning. Because you've been left behind. A screen behind the dais blinks on. Scenes flicker. Ancient Brighthollow, medieval festivals, gaslight protests, World War blackouts, 1980s riots. In each frame, a figure who looks like you, or nearly so. And in the final image, you, in your current clothes, sitting across from your therapist, eyes glassy, as if possessed. Fenton steps forward. "Wait, how are you in two places at once?" "Because that," other you says, pointing at the screen, "was yesterday." Fringe fact. There's a theory in theoretical neuroscience called nonlinear ego formation, suggesting that under extreme trauma, consciousness might fracture into separate instances spread across temporal moments, normally dismissed as pseudoscience. Unless, of course, your life is proving it true. You're shaking now. "What do I do?" you ask. "Choose," says other you. "Merge with me and remember everything, or leave. Forget again. Start over." You can't breathe. "You won't be you anymore," Fenton warns. "You'll be all of them." You turn to him. "I'm not even sure who this me is anymore." "Maybe that's okay," he says. "Maybe it's about choosing which parts to keep." You nod. Step toward the dais. Your hand touches your doubles. The chamber fills with light. Not warm, not cold, just knowing. Images flood you. Lives lived, names forgotten, centuries stitched into bone and breath. You see wars, lovers, libraries, catastrophes, laughing with someone you haven't met yet, crying over graves long vanished, standing beneath a sky that has never existed. And through it all, one constant, Brighthollow, breathing, changing, rebuilding itself with every iteration. You open your eyes. Same chamber, Fenton's staring. "Is it still you?" You nod. Mostly. What now? You look at the spiral carved into the floor, at the symbol burned into your own memory. There's a reason I was made to remember, and now that I do, I can stop the cycle. A sudden rumble. The spiral glows faintly. Great, Fenton mutters. You woke the city. You laugh, but it comes out half sad. Yeah, I think I did. And here's your mainstream historical fact for the night. The city of Palmanova in Italy was designed as a perfect star-shaped fortress during the Renaissance. Geometry guiding every street, every wall. Brighthollow? Same deal, except the blueprint wasn't made by architects. It was made by memory, a memory named you. You and Fenton hurry back up the spiral stairwell, but the city isn't waiting patiently. Every step upward is met with tremors, quiet at first, like a subway train far beneath your feet, but quickly building into full-bodied growls. Brighthollow groans like something ancient waking from a bad dream. Still think we should have just gone bowling? Fenton mutters, hopping 2 steps at a time. You glance over your shoulder. The chamber's spiral is glowing brighter now, golden light bleeding up the walls like veins. And in that moment, you realize something. The city isn't falling apart. It's realigning. Outside, the streets aren't just shifting. They're reconfiguring, like a Rubik's Cube snapping into place, one hidden layer at a time. You don't see it, but you feel it in your bones. The same way you feel when you're on a roller coaster about to drop. That mix of awe and nausea? Yeah, times 10. You burst out onto the surface again. Dawn has just begun to stretch over Brighthollow, except not quite. The sky looks wrong. Too pink, too flat, like someone painted it 5 minutes ago and forgot to let it dry. You shield your eyes. This isn't real, you whisper. Fenton's panting. The sky? No, the whole thing. I think we're in one of the older iterations. The spiral. It didn't just wake up. It rewound, he swears. So what are we in now? Retro Brighthollow? Beta version? The streets are full of silence. Not empty. Just waiting. Like an old photograph that hasn't decided whether to fade or sharpen. Then, movement. People begin to appear, but they're wrong too. Clothing's off. Faces are slightly blurred. One guy walks by with what you swear is a scroll tucked under one arm, and he's wearing sneakers. You and Fenton exchange a glance. We're in a hybrid, you say slowly. A test pattern. The spiral's showing us every layer at once. You reach the library square again, but it's different now. Part cobblestone, part marble, part digital glass. You blink. The architecture is glitching like a half-rendered video game. Standing in the center is a woman. Pale coat. Hood up. No face. Just a smooth curve where features should be. You stop. She raises a hand and points. Not at you. At the statue behind you. The one of the city's supposed founder, Lord Vellum. You turn. And watch as the statue crumbles into sand, revealing something buried beneath. A spiral-shaped stone. Same as the dais underground. Same as your dreams. The woman speaks. Her voice is not sound. It's vibration, resonating in your chest. You are the key, but you are also the lock. You step forward. What does that mean? You cannot choose truth without losing form. Fenton scratches his head. Is she saying, if you remember everything, you won't be you anymore? You nod. I already started changing. And now comes the kicker, the open scholarly debate of the hour. Historians still argue whether certain mythologies, like the Greek concept of Lethe, the river of forgetting, were metaphors for natural cycles, or literal descriptions of cities and souls forced to reincarnate with selective memory loss. This isn't a metaphor. This is Lethe, made into sidewalks and city councils. The woman walks backward into the fog, dissolving like steam. You kneel beside the exposed spiral. You know what you have to do. You're going to touch it, aren't you? Fenton asks. You nod. He sighs. Cool. If you turn into a cosmic light being, Just promise you'll still come to trivia night. You press your palm to the stone. Instantly, the world vanishes. No pain, just volume. Like your mind is an amphitheater, and every life you've lived is stepping forward to sing. You see, yourself in a monastic robe, scribbling a secret under candlelight. Yourself as a 19th century inventor, building a machine that resembles a spiral. Yourself as a child, drawing the shape again and again, unaware it means anything. Yourself, again and again, a ghost in the bloodstream of Brighthollow. And then, you feel a presence, not other you. Older than that. Something that has watched you through every loop. A mind beneath the city. It speaks in a voice that is also thunder. Why do you wake? I want to end the spiral, you say. To end it is to forget it. I know. The presence pauses. You accept the price? You hesitate. Fenton appears beside you, though you know he's not really here, just a fragment pulled into the memory spiral. He says gently, "You've carried this long enough. Maybe it's time." You nod. The spiral pulses, and then silence. You open your eyes. You're in your therapist's office. Again, she's staring at you, pen frozen midair. "Are you all right?" she asks. You look around. Same books, same window, same bad coffee smell. But you're not the same. You remember all of it. And you know this session, this day, is your last as the keeper. You're about to pass it on. The spiral doesn't end. It transfers to someone new. But first, you need to tell your story. And maybe, just maybe, you'll leave behind a trail someone else can follow. You lean forward in the leather chair, the one that always squeaks just slightly when you shift your weight. The therapist, Dr. Mireille, you remember now, sets her pen down. You've never seen her look like this. It's not concern, not quite. It's more like she's seeing a stranger in your skin. "Tell me," she says softly, "what do you remember?" "Everything." You remember everything. But you also know it won't last long. The spiral's gift, total memory, isn't permanent. It's a flare, a single hour of clarity before the forgetting sets in again. That's the cost of surviving Brighthollow with your mind intact. You have roughly 60 minutes before your mind begins to shed the layers again. So you begin. Your voice comes out low, steady. There's a city underneath this city. Not beneath, like in a subway way. Beneath, like a memory you forgot you lived. Dr. Morale doesn't interrupt. It's called Brighthollow, but it's also called something else. Spiral's End, the city of repeating names, memory's threshold. Depends on when you're remembering it. You pause. I used to be its guardian. This would be the part where most therapists recommend a gentle hospital stay. But not her. She's not writing. She's listening. And when she leans in slightly, you get the strangest feeling. She already knows. I followed the spiral, you continue, and it brought me to a version of the city that was all of them at once. Every version Brighthollow has ever been. Like a palimpsest of time. You glance down at your hands. They're trembling now. The remembering is starting to peel back. One layer, then another. But there was a choice, you say. Stay and become part of the spiral, or leave and forget. And you chose? Dr. Mireille asks, almost a whisper. I chose to leave, so I could tell someone. She sits back. Something behind her eyes shifts. A click, quiet as snowfall. And then she says something that freezes your breath. You're not the first to try. Here's your fringe tidbit of the day. In 1896, a man in London claimed to remember every one of his past lives, including several in cities that never existed on maps. His notes were lost in a fire, or so they said. The two of you sit in silence for a moment. Outside, traffic hums. A pigeon lands on the windowsill and just stares, like it's waiting to see what happens next. I was one of them too, she says. A long time ago. You blink. I've forgotten almost all of it, but I remember the spiral, the taste of the dust, the way the walls hummed when it was near. She opens a drawer, pulls out a journal. Black cover, no markings, slides it toward you. Your hour is almost up. This is yours. You open it. Inside, sketches of the spiral, names, diagrams of the glowing cities, fragments of languages that don't exist anymore, and in the center, a folded page. You unfold it carefully. It's a map, not of Brighthollow as it is now, but as it once was. Streets and alleyways that no longer exist, buildings erased from the skyline, and at the heart, a circle labeled Origin Chamber. You remember where it is? She asks. You nod, barely. Then go. And that's how you find yourself back in the streets of Brighthollow, daylight slicing through your vision like it has something to prove. You hold the journal tight. Each step feels heavier, like gravity knows you're carrying more than skin and blood. You're carrying memory, legacy. You stop at a corner. There's a bookstore here now. It used to be a bakery. Before that, a blacksmith's forge. The bricks remember, even if the people don't. The Origin Chamber isn't marked. You have to feel your way there. It's like chasing a scent you once knew as a child. Muscle memory meets dream logic. You duck through alleyways that bend when you're not looking, down staircases that descend 2 steps longer than the building they're in, through a laundromat where every machine hums in the same pitch as the spiral. And then you find it, not underground, not hidden, but right in the open, disguised as a bus terminal. Because of course it is. The entrance is through a rusted maintenance door behind a Coke machine no one's refilled since 2017. You press your palm to it, and the metal sighs open like it's been waiting. Inside, silence, dust, air that smells like old thunder, and the spiral. This one isn't on the ground. It's suspended like a halo of stone and brass and glowing thread, a memory engine. You reach up, touch it, and this time, no visions, no voices, just peace, like every name you've ever had just sat down in a quiet room and agreed to stop fighting. You breathe, and you hear a sound, distant, like someone walking down the hall. Fenton? Number. He wouldn't find you here. Then who? Footsteps stop behind you. You turn, and there they are. A girl, maybe 10. Big eyes, spiral-shaped locket. She looks up at you. I've been looking for you. You crouch. Who are you? She smiles. I think I'm next. You hand her the journal. The pages rustle like wings. You say, it's your turn to remember. The child stands in the spiral's glow, thumbing the journal like it's the most natural thing in the world. She doesn't ask questions, doesn't fidget, just flips the pages slowly, the way someone might read a bedtime story they already know by heart. You watch her, trying to make sense of the strange familiarity prickling at your skin. Her face, her voice, that locket. You've seen it before. No, worn it before. Spirals never really end, do they? They just shed skin and start again. She looks up. Do you remember the name you had before Aldrich? The question hits like a gong, somewhere deep in your ribs. You don't remember the name, but you remember what it felt like moss underfoot, like bells in fog. So you nod. She walks past you, steps light on the ancient stone. As she approaches the spiral, the machinery hums louder. You recognize it now, not a warning, but a welcome. I don't know how long I'll last, she says, but someone has to stay close, to anchor it. You want to argue, but you can't. You understand. You've been her. In 1911, during the excavation of a forgotten Parisian crypt, archaeologists uncovered a girl's skeleton curled protectively around an open book. Inside it, spirals, names, none of them hers. Historians still argue whether that was just religious iconography or a remnant of some forgotten cult. You whisper, mostly to yourself. But maybe just maybe, it wasn't forgotten. Just misfiled by time. You turn from the origin chamber, leaving the girl and the glow behind. The staircase retracts after you descend, one step at a time, vanishing into nothing. A failsafe, or a goodbye. Back above ground, Brighthollow is doing its usual routine. Rain pretending it's snow, crowds moving like synchronized fish. And you? You walk like someone freshly unplugged. Loose joints, quiet awe. You pass an antique shop where a phonograph plays music that shouldn't exist anymore, a lullaby from the spiral's edge. You pause, letting the melody fold over you. The shopkeeper, wiry, older, with a half-burnt name tag, leans out. "Got something for you," he says, as if this is normal. He hands you a parcel, no address, just your spiral mark, faintly embossed in wax. Inside, a photograph. You, but younger. Different hair, different clothes. And next to you, a girl. That girl. The back is scribbled in spidery ink. "Keep her safe next time." You swallow. The street tilts slightly. Because now you remember. You've done this before, in dozens of forms, dozens of spirals. Every time you try to get out, every time you leave someone else behind to anchor the memory. Maybe this time, you'll do better. You head to the last place anyone would expect, the Museum of Forgotten Trades. It's not even open anymore. Just a dusty, padlocked curiosity at the edge of Brighthollow's University District. But you still have your old access badge. Inside, wax figures, old signage, tools no one knows how to use anymore. And the center display, the memory forge. In the 1700s, blacksmiths in Northern Europe were rumored to create legacy blades, using the memories of the recently dead, folded into the steel. Ridiculous, of course. But you've held one. Once, and the steel wept. You climb into the display case. Tap twice on the floorboard, it opens. Below, the last memory cache. It's not a database, it's a garden. Bioluminescent vines, pools that ripple with reflected dreams. A tree that hums with names. You kneel at its roots and bury the photo. "This time," you say softly, "I'll be the anchor." The vines respond, curling around your wrist, marking you. You sit and wait, because someone, someday, will come looking for answers. And when they do, they'll find you, older, maybe wiser, sitting beneath the spiral tree, a living index of every life forgotten, every name misplaced, every loop unclosed. Aldrich, Caro, Nima, Thorn, Whisper, Ash, you. It all begins again. And in the distance, a faint bell. Someone's arrived. They descend the hidden staircase cautiously, slow, careful steps echoing through the silence like soft punctuation. You hear them long before you see them. A boy this time, 17, maybe 18, sharp eyes, a tattered coat too big for his shoulders, and a satchel stuffed with things he doesn't yet understand. He stands before you, blinking at the bioluminescent roots that twist around your feet, at the tree that hums softly behind you. "You're the archivist?" he asks. Your smile is calm. "Not exactly." He hesitates, clearly expecting more. But you've learned to give information the way a careful chef adds salt. Slowly, cautiously, and always leaving them wanting more. So instead you say, "What's your name?" He hesitates again. I don't know." Of course he doesn't. You gesture for him to sit. The vines make room, curling away like polite snakes. He watches them, entranced. "I've had many names," you begin, voice like parchment sliding across stone. "But the one that brought me here was Aldrich." You tell him only what he needs to hear. The spiral, the vault, the loops that repeat across generations, each cycle with a new cast, but always the same script. "You're caught in it now," you say gently. "Same as I was." "Can it be broken?" he asks. A long pause. Historians still argue whether the spiral is a trap or a trial. you murmur, but no one agrees on what happens if it's left untouched. He frowns, thinking, then why did you stay? That's when you show him the locket. The girl's face glows behind the filigreed glass, a face he recognizes, though he doesn't know why. Not yet. She stayed to hold the spiral, you whisper. Now it's my turn. One day, it may be yours. The boy stands. His face is pale, but his hands are steady. He reaches for the tree's trunk, where the spiral mark glows faintly. It pulses once beneath his touch, accepts him, catalogs him. He is now part of the archive. You stand with him and lead him to the memory pool. Images shimmer on its surface, warriors fighting in forgotten fields, priests whispering beneath cathedrals, children drawing spirals in the dust of burned villages. A carousel of the city's darkest truths. But nestled among them, something new, a face, not from the past, but the future. His. You don't tell him what it means. You don't have to. He's already guessing. That's the problem with forbidden knowledge, you say softly. Once you see it, it starts rewriting you. He looks away, swallows hard. You hand him a key. Brass. Heavy. Etched with spiral grooves that slide in your hand like tiny gears. This will open the memory vault in the northeast tower of the city archives, you say. Ask for the registrar. Give no name, just this. He nods slowly. You know the next steps are his. As he disappears into the upward tunnel, the spiral tree sighs. You lean into its bark and close your eyes. You don't need to follow anymore. You've done your part. Outside, Brighthollow pulses on. The city is entering its winter festival. Paper lanterns drift along the river. Students sing drunken carols near the clock tower. No one notices the boy walking past them, except the pigeons, who pause briefly, then fly off in a spiral. You linger underground, watching petals fall from a memory flower. A slow fade, a loop finishing its arc. But somewhere far above, in the city's oldest quarter, the boy inserts the brass key into a lock that hasn't turned in 300 years. And inside, the vault groans open. Dust spills out first. Then light, and then music. The kind only heard at the edge of sleep. Worn and warm like lullabies from a world that never quite was. The registrar sits in the darkness, eyes pale with age, hands calloused from copying truths no one asks for. She sees him and smiles, as if he's been expected for centuries. You've come for your story, she says. He nods. She opens a drawer. Inside, a journal, bound in bark and wrapped in chain. A single symbol glows on its spine, a spiral gently unfurling. He takes it. It feels cold and alive. That night, under flickering candlelight, he begins to read. And somewhere beneath Brighthollow, the spiral pulses again. Not a repeat, a rebirth. You dream, though you are fully awake. Not a dream of clouds or flying, those are for the innocent, but the kind where time folds, where the weight of lives not lived presses down on your ribs like a second skeleton. You are Aldrich again, briefly, but older, more worn. The city has changed, as it always does, but in ways that repeat like tired poetry. The stalls in the lower market are still draped in damp canvas. The bell tower still misses its chime on stormy nights. Even the children shouting in the alleys have familiar patterns to their play, echoes of generations chasing each other through the same shadows. But it's not the city's routine that haunts you. It's the people who remember too much. You pass a woman selling roses made of black cloth. She does not blink. She does not breathe. Her cart, you realize, hasn't moved since the first war. No one else sees her. You nod once. She smiles, faintly, like a page curling in heat. The spiral is growing more visible. You see it now in cracked windows, in puddles formed by crooked gutters, in the flight path of ravens. Historians still argue whether this phenomenon is mass delusion or urban pattern recognition syndrome, but those who've seen the vault know better. You visit the northeast tower one last time, The brass key has dissolved by now, its grooves faded like memory, but your hand still remembers the shape. The lock turns with a reluctant sigh. Inside, the boy is gone. Of course he is. Time moves differently when you aren't watching. The registrar greets you with a nod. Her hair is longer, her hands thinner. "He's taken the journal," she says. "Good," you reply. She hesitates. "Do you want yours back?" You don't answer. You walk past her, toward the chamber where memory is processed, filtered through vellum and ink, and then copied by hand, word by word, into ledgers taller than trees. You open yours. It begins the way all spiral journals begin. I was born beneath a moon that never rose. You skip ahead, past the riots, past the girl in the red sash, past the cathedral and its whispering stone. You find the page that glows faintly. A new paragraph is forming. You didn't write it. You don't even remember it happening. You read, "In the last moment, Aldrich chose silence." Your mouth goes dry. You were going to speak. You were sure of it. But now you aren't. Maybe you stood there. Maybe you watched. Maybe silence was all you had left. You close the book. Outside, bells are ringing, but not the usual ones. These are low, deep, the sort of bell you feel in your sternum, the ones rung only during spiral turns. You rush outside. Brighthollow's skyline is different, too sharp, as if some buildings have shifted a degree to the left. The great statue of the first matron now raises an open book instead of a torch. A tiny change, but enough to send a chill through your spine. You reach for your pendant. It's gone. You race back to your quarters, only to find your nameplate missing from the door. Inside, dust, old air, no trace of your things. Your fingers find the spiral scar at your wrist. The skin is warm. Something has begun. Far across the city, the boy stands before the city's underground altar. Spiral roots grow around his feet. His eyes are closed. His breath shallow. You realize it now. He's not just a reader. He's a node, a living anchor for the spiral to renew itself through flesh and memory. The final transition has started. You hurry back to the vault, past guards who don't recognize you, through corridors that smell wrong, like spring dust in winter. At the chamber door, a new plaque. No admittance without echo clearance. You laugh bitterly. Echo clearance wasn't even invented in your time. You knock anyway. The registrar opens the door, but it's not the woman you knew. It's a man now. Younger. Stern. His robes bear a crest you don't recognize. A spiral nested within a spiral. He narrows his eyes. "Who sent you?" You open your mouth, but you don't know anymore. He closes the door. You stand in silence. Then, from somewhere below the stones, a whisper. "Aldrich." It's not the boy. It's her. The girl. You follow the voice downward, past sealed corridors and collapsed tunnels. The city's foundation groans, uneasy, as if resenting your return. You find her in the old chamber beneath St. Elandir, or what's left of it. The spiral tree still stands, but now it bears fruit. Glowing orbs the size of lanterns, suspended by translucent roots. Each contains a face, some asleep, some weeping, some still whispering. You reach toward one, the girl's, still young, still wearing the red sash, her eyes open. She sees you. She doesn't smile. She says, "You're not supposed to be here." You whisper, "Neither were you." She laughs softly. That's the point. Behind you, the chamber trembles. The spiral is turning faster now. You know what this means? The archive is waking up, and the city won't sleep much longer. The city moans, not the metaphorical kind. You feel it in your spine, the low grinding murmur of ancient mechanisms groaning to life beneath Brighthollow's cobbled streets. You sprint, up spiral staircases carved by forgotten masons, past murals that rewrite themselves when your back is turned. You're not even sure if you're running toward the surface anymore, or down into a dream nested within a deeper dream. The girl's voice still hums in your mind. That's the point. The spiral has shifted. You remember something you once heard during a midnight lecture in the registrar's hall, back when you still had the title and a desk with a brass lamp. The old historian, Halfin Meyer, had mumbled it between sips of mushroom tea. The spiral doesn't grow. It repeats, but each time with more detail, like a sketch being inked again and again. At the time, you scoffed. Now, you feel every line etching deeper into your soul. You reach a gate marked with symbols you've never seen. They shimmer, pulse, then vanish, acknowledging your presence like a password spoken without speaking. Inside is a chamber of glass. Beneath your feet, the entire city in miniature. Brighthollow, replicated in silver lattice and mist, suspended midair. Streets shift, towers breathe, the river rewinds. You see people, tiny translucent figures. One of them is you, but older, and walking toward the spiral tree again. You're looping. You're inside the Archivum Echo, the legendary map vault of recursive memory. Historians still argue whether this place ever existed outside metaphor, a myth told to warn scholars about dwelling too long in reflection. But here you are, and you're not alone. The boy stands at the center of the chamber, palms raised. His fingertips glow the color of candle wax. The journal is open before him, pages flipping on their own, too fast to read. He doesn't notice you. You approach slowly, closer, then stop. He's humming. Not words, not even a tune. Just a single wobbling note that somehow fills the air with shapes. You taste copper. Your knees go weak. The note changes. And suddenly you're somewhere else. A different body. A different time. The battlefield of Reinhold, maybe. Or the ash-covered streets of post-Infernium Brighthollow. Historians disagree on whether these events were separate or overlapping spirals. But you're there. You're someone else. You're everyone else. And then, snap, back, your knees hit the glass. The boy lowers his hands. He turns to you finally. His eyes are impossibly old. "Aldrich," he says. You try to speak. Only a whisper comes out. "Why me?" He kneels. "Because you're the only one who remembers not to forget." Cryptic? Of course. But in spiral logic, that counts as clarity. The boy offers you the journal. It's no longer blank. Every page is written in your own hand. But none of it makes sense. One line reads, "Burn the fourth sky." Another, "She never died. She changed address." And scribbled across the margins. Your name, over and over, but with different last names. You flip to the back. One sentence glows faintly. "Close the door from the inside." The boy nods toward the glass city. You're ready. You understand, somehow. The Archivum is not just a map. It's a mechanism. And someone must close the loop. You hesitate. One last time. Behind you, silence. Ahead, the spiral. You press your palm to the final glyph, and suddenly, everything goes white. You're in a library. Sunlight pours through stained glass windows. Dust dances like lazy spirits. Books line every wall. Not ancient tomes, but journals. Personal stories. Names you remember. Names you forgot. The librarian looks up. It's you. An older version. He nods once, kindly. "We kept your seat warm." You sit and begin writing. Outside, the city breathes. And for the first time in centuries, the spiral slows. And now, you let your breath out slowly. The city fades. Not with a bang. Not with sirens or horns or clashing swords. But like the hush of parchment curling under a candle's glow. You find yourself in a quiet room again, the kind with thick walls and an old chair that creaks just right when you lean back. Outside, the wind might be rattling a shutter or two, but here it's calm. You still feel the spiral sometimes, in the rhythm of your thoughts, or the way your fingers twitch while dreaming. That's okay. The city always leaves a mark. It was never meant to disappear completely. You're safe now. The echo chamber is quiet. The tree has stopped whispering. The boy, well, he's still out there somewhere. But tonight, he's resting. As you should. Maybe you'll walk through Brighthollow again in a dream. Past the stone gargoyle who winks. Visit the stall where the roses are always too perfect. Glance up at the moon, unsure if it's the real one or just another memory loop. Doesn't matter, because tonight, your part in the spiral is done. So let your shoulders drop. Let your mind soften at the edges. And if you feel a tug, like a thought you forgot to think, just let it go. The spiral can wait. Good night, traveler. Sleep deep, dream soft.